Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Distinguished panelists and dear participants, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. It is a great pleasure to welcome you at the Institute of Regional Studies. I'm research analyst and my name is Nabila and I'm heading China program at the Institute. It is our second focused roundtable dialogue with reference to 10 years of CPEC. And the subject for today's discussion is success of special economic zones and the way forward. My gratitude to Mr. Shakeel Ahmed Ramay, who is a CEO of Asian Institute of Ecocivilization Research and Development, for his collaboration in organizing this session. And we are honored to have accomplished panelists with us today. We extend our gratitude to you, sir, to you all for joining us today here. Before formally starting, I have a brief overview of the subject. Special economic zones have been successful tools of energizing the export-led growth for developing economies. SEZs have immensely contributed to the GDP, trade, employment, technology transfer, investment levels of various countries, and these SEZs are considered one of the major elements to stimulate rapid development in countries like China, Poland, South Africa, Malaysia, and many other countries. And China is cited one of the most successful country as its export-led growth strategy worked through these SEZs. Bangladesh has recently set up various successful SEZs, and it is ramping up its economic growth by announcing 100 more SEZs by the year of 2025. This is going to add $40 billion of exports to the Bangladesh economy. And the secret behind the success of special economic zones is to develop policy framework and a structure that offer incentives and advantageous environment to attract FDI and facilitate mushrooming industrial growth, productivity, competitive advantage that eventually stimulate trade and regional development. And SEZs require a special designated geographical area, infrastructure, connectivity, and a special policy framework. We are lucky that the infrastructure and connectivity are part of the CPEC project. Pakistan's vision behind the SEZs was to emulate the model of successful Asian economies for manufacturing industries. And Pakistan needs to accelerate work on the identified 9 SEZs to bridge the industrial shortfall. The aim of today's discussion is to understand Pakistan's vision for SEZs under the phase 2 of CPEC and to identify the problems in the construction of planned SEZs. We also need to understand Chinese model of SEZs and the scope for success of these SEZs. And eventually its contribution to Pakistan's development. The agenda of today's program is that we have 2 speakers who will cover the first 2 topics, and then we will be interested to hear insights from the other experts who will speak regarding the future of SEZs from their respective areas of expertise. Our first speaker, I would like to give floor to Mr. Dr. Hassan Daud, who will speak on the problems in the current SEZs.
So with your permission, today's, we're celebrating our 10 years of CPEC, and I think they've a lot of been achieved, frankly, on several domains, including energy, infrastructure, even on the special economic zone part. So, and let me first congratulate Nabila also. This time your the venue is fantastic. I mean, it gives you a reason to speak more candidly. The ambience is such. So thank you very much for setting that stage. Yeah. So for the younger audience here, you need to understand how this. Yeah. Can you go to the next slide, please? I'll request you to go to the next. So, just understand, and when we talk of CPEC and where we are, we also need to understand where we are going to be. So I think the overall into 2022 and the 2023 has just begun. The overall foreign direct investment has gone down by about 12%. And there are several reasons for that: COVID, natural calamities, high food and energy prices, soaring public debt, supply chain issues, and all. And of course, the Russia-Ukraine crisis, and of course the brewing US-China relationship, I would say, and also the protectionism around that. And of course, based on that, the unilateral restrictions imposed by countries is growing, as in the past 10 years, where we were speaking about globalization, and the concept of SEZs is a manifestation of globalization. We see IMF now telling us that the situation is not going to be good, say about till 2024. And of course, the lot of developing countries will be caught up in crossfire. और ये crossfire में हम आ सकते हैं जहाँ पर we are looking at possibilities and avenues, and trying to navigate between our two great friends, China and US. And of course, based on this, the good thing is that new technologies are emerging, new industries are emerging, jobs and value addition is happening. Whether you want to work here in Pakistan or you want to go abroad, it doesn't matter, because for me, there are no boundaries for HR. There are no boundaries on knowledge, and of course there is no boundaries on investment. जहाँ पर भी आप enabling environment create करेंगे, ये तीनों factors उसकी तरफ move करेंगे, चाहे वो दुबई में हो, चाहे वो US में हो, चाहे वो पाकिस्तान में हो. And I also believe that opportunities for Asian countries as driver of economic growth are more. They're growing. Are factors on which these factors are worked on are growing. But I think our population is also growing phenomenally. I think कोई भी industry इतनी production नहीं कर रही जितनी हमारी population की grow कर रही. और मेरा ख्याल है अब हमें millions में बात करना छोड़ देनी चाहिए. अब हमें कहना चाहिए 250 million, 500 million, क्योंकि अगर ये factor और ये number हमें नहीं, especially us technocrats and also policy makers like the ambassadors, Investor Javed and others, and I'm sure हमारे colleagues from the business community, and I'm so glad that he's here. He'll speak very candidly on this. अगर हमें ये number frighten नहीं करता और रातों को नहीं जगाता, तो फिर कोई और number नहीं है इस जगह. And we have to create about 1.3 million jobs each year, जिसमें से 4.4 to 5 million हो जाएंगी by 2035. Horrifying numbers. These are horrifying numbers because our productivity is not growing. Our scale of production is also not growing. But Justin Linifu, when he interacted with me and during his visit in 2017, he said this, and I show this slide wherever we are discussing special economic zone, that the nature of modern income growth is a process of structural change. That is continuous technological innovation and industrial upgradation, which increases labor productivity, with increase in labor productivity and continuous improvement in soft and hard infrastructure. Every developing country has the potential to grow dynamically and become a middle income or even a high income countries in 1 or 2 generations. So what we do today will impact you, and what you do will impact the next generation. And perhaps China has demonstrated, and my great friend Shakeel will speak about Chinese model also, so I'll skip those slides. But I just want to highlight that आपने ये काम करना है तो आपको industrial policy बनानी पड़ेगी, which we do not have. And we need to facilitate the private sector. और जब हम बात करते हैं investment की, and we will speak about investment, our focus is around foreign direct investment. आप किसी भी political leader की बात सुनेंगे, किसी भी bureaucrat senior की बात सुनेंगे, FDI. जब आपका local investor happy नहीं होगा, तो फिर FDI के ambassador, क्योंकि ये हैं, they are the manager of change as far as industry is concerned. तो इनको खुश करना और इनके problems को based on countries' comparative advantage देखना, I think Justin Linifu said to me, and when he said this, I'll just briefly say this, and Shakeel will speak about this. I think from a labor intensive structure where we are to a knowledge intensive infrastructure जिस पे China जा रहा है, चला गया, ये हम चाहते हैं कि सारी चीजें एक दिन में हो जाए, हम एशियन टाइगर बन जाए, हमारे स्पेशल इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ में हर तरफ इंजन और चिमनी गरम गरम हवा छोड़ी. बट ये होगा नहीं, ये बहुत हार्ड एफर्ट और मेहनत से करना पड़ता है और इसका एक प्रोसेस है. And that process we can learn from China, but we can also develop our own model based on our own realization of the factors and expertise or homegrown policies की base पे. So क्या किया चाइना ने? मेरे नजदीक चाइना ने सबसे पहले political will demonstrate की. उन्होंने pragmatic leader select किए, क्योंकि leaders आप select करते हैं. उन्होंने पॉलिटिकल विल डेमोन्स्ट्रेट की, प्रैग्मेटिक लीडरशिप सिलेक्ट की, पॉलिसी की कंटिन्यूटी की. उन्होंने तमाम स्टेक होल्डर्स ने मिलकर इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन को सपोर्ट किया, इंक्लूडिंग द कॉमन मैन. और फिर मोर इंपॉर्टेंटली कंटिन्यूटी ऑफ पॉलिसी के साथ साथ पॉलिटिकल स्टेबिलिटी को इंश्योर किया. और अगर आप ये फैक्टर्स नहीं लाते तो आप 10,000 SEZs बना लें, आपके SEZ पॉपुलेट नहीं होंगे. इसमें से एक भी निकाल दें तो वो पॉपुलेट नहीं होंगे. और ये तमाम चीजें फ्रॉम पॉलिटिकल विल टू पॉलिटिकल स्टेबिलिटी टू पॉलिसी कंटिन्यूटी और प्रैग्मेटिक, ये डिटरमिन करती है कि आपने किस तरह की पॉलिसी को आगे लेके जाना है. अगर आपके पास ये नहीं है तो SEZ की तरफ आप नहीं जा सके. चाइना की जो इस वक्त जो वर्क प्लान उन्होंने रिपोर्ट दी थी, ली केqiang फॉर्मर प्राइम मिनिस्टर, दीज आर द एरियाज जिसके अंदर उन्होंने हाईलाइट किया है on the sectors that they will work on in terms of foreign direct investment while they move out. और आप इसमें से सारे देख लें, all of them are related to Pakistan, from tourism and leisure to aviation to automobile to construction to manufacturing to financial services to all of them. And और इसके अंदर हमारे पास natural endowment भी है और हमारे पास human resource भी है in order to attract this. But आप general status अगर देखें तो आपको ये नजर आता है, और जनरल डिस्कोर्स आप ये देखें तो आप ये नजर आता है. आपकी पॉलिटिकल डिस्कशन ये होती है, आपकी मीडिया में डिस्कशन यही होती है एज इफ पाकिस्तान इज अबाउट टू डिफॉल्ट. और मेरा ये जाती ख्याल है, बिकॉज आई एम जस्ट बिल्डिंग अ प्रीएम्बल टू व्हाट आई एम गोइंग टू से एज फार एज SEZ, कि ये भी एग्जेजरेशन है कि आप कहें कि आपका मुल्क डिफॉल्ट होने वाला है, और ये भी एग्जेजरेशन है आप कहें कि सब अच्छा है. So somewhere in between is the narrative that we all need to work, अगर आपने SEZ के अंदर लेके जाना. क्योंकि ये डूम्सडे मर्चेंट अगर हम सब बन जाएंगे तो फिर वो बाहर वाला कैसे आएगा? और डूम्सडे मर्चेंट बनने का रीजन कोई नहीं है. आपकी एग्रीकल्चर प्रोडक्ट ज्यादा हो रही है, आपकी ओवरऑल स्ट्रक्चर जो चेंजेस है वो अच्छी आ रही हैं, ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस की तरफ एटलीस्ट बात की. और मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ कि जो सबसे बड़ा एडवांटेज CPEC का हमें हुआ है, CPEC की इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन का हमें हुआ है. Oh, we have foreigners, so I'll speak in English now. So my apologies. So the biggest advantage for me as someone who's working on industrialization and investment attraction was that we got exposed. Our weaknesses around the overall investment regime and investment climate got exposed. Because when Chinese came here and when they spoke about ease of doing business, we weren't speaking about ease of doing business before that. We were speaking about investment, textile, labor intensive, import substitution versus export-led industry. And you still hear the pundits speaking about this. But now what has happened is that we got exposed. They came to us and they told us that these are the facilities we have from Vietnam. These are the facilities we have in Laos and Cambodia. I've served in Vietnam 3 years, so I exactly know how. I mean, I was a diplomat then, and I used to carry the diplomat passport. But the investor at Vietnam airport gets more privileges than even the diplomats. And therefore, when they came here, when they told us that these are the issues, we realized, and then we started working on this issue. And then when the World Bank also came to support us and perhaps gave us good directions and case studies for us to emulate, perhaps. And there's a famous Chinese proverb: to attract the phoenix, you have to build the nest first. Unless you build the nest, the investment will not come. Whether you turn around backward, it will not come. You have to build the nest first. You have to create that enabling environment. And that enabling environment is very simple to create. So how would you attract? My apologies. How does it go? So how do you work, and where did we falter? We faltered in a way because to achieve economic structural transformation, sustain, and of course, poverty alleviation, because these special economic zones are an instrument for employment generation and poverty alleviation, but are not the real source of poverty alleviation And therefore, I always say, and I keep saying it again here also, SEZs are the means to the end, not the end itself. Please remember this. Your industrial policy is the factor which will determine whether you're going industrialization. Total area around CPEC SEZs is only 9,000 acres. Can you expect a country to transform into an industry-led country just based on 9,000 acres? You won't, out of which only 3,000 or 4,000 acres are actually. So therefore, what we must understand that SEZs are not a substitute to industrial policy. We need to have a pragmatic, forward-looking, competitive industrial policy in order to work on special economic zone. And therefore, when Pakistan worked on the SEZ Act in 2013, many things have actually happened, good things have actually happened in Pakistan, including the high Ruba SEZ model, which Chinese keep telling to rest of the world is one of the great private sector investment in SEZ that has happened in Pakistan. Chinese have worked on 26 SEZs. They are investing in Rashakai. And there is a reason for them to realize and invest because they're public money investment. Yes, they have just come and they've said, we like Rashakai, the land is green and the sky is blue. It's not that. It is because of the fact that they find reasons for investment in it. So when Pakistan worked on 20 SEZs, I think one of the good models that we have is high Ruba, and we can work and emulate good models from us. But what has happened for us in the last 10 years of CPEC that we tried not realizing different locations, different targets and objectives. We tried to have a one-size-fit-all model for all. And this is not going to work. Every area, if you have Dabeji, it will function differently because it's close to the ocean. If you have Rashakai, it will function differently because it's close to the Afghan border. And if you have Punjab and SEZ in Punjab, it will work differently because it's close to the industrial hub of Pakistan. So every SEZ will have its own natural endowment. But the problem is that when we work, and I'm also guilty to that also in a way, is that when we look at the possibilities of working on sectors, we did not have a sectoral approach and we worked on a generic SEZ, which will not work. And also our ease of doing business, which was exposed immediately as the Chinese came because no other investors were coming, unfortunately. And I wish the West can come and invest in special economic zone, but they are not. They're just looking at an SEZ and writing articles about it. And problems involving regulations, policies, government services and productivity, language and cultural issues came. And all these issues, there's a huge literature available on cultural issues, cross-cultural, because this was the first time Pakistanis were in direct exposure, except for national strategic projects, in a business domain, working with business companies in a special center of excellence, as I would say. And of course, the lack of infrastructure, provision of utilities, which the government keeps promising, was extremely poor. It took almost 2 years for me to get electricity and promise of gas, not gas, but the promise of gas in 2 years. So this is how, this is the best case scenario. If you write a book, how not to build an SEZ, we can write this. And non-availability or delay in, as I said, of utilities. Understanding the working culture and skills of zone developer partners in development and management of economic zones. We need to understand how the Chinese work. If Elon Musk can tweet that Chinese build a railway station in 9 hours with 1,400 people, and when the governor of New York makes a statement that we want masks that are built in China, we want respirators that are built in China, we want anything that is built in China. So why not we also learn from this? And unfortunately, or fortunately, though we have a national SME policy which is notified and needs a lot of correction, by the way, but our industrial policy is still awaited. So you can speak about SEZs day and night, you speak about, because SEZ is now a household discussion point, but these are fundamentals for us. Just imagine if there was no CPEC, what would you be doing? And then, of course, our investment strategy is not sector specific, as I said. We We look at all size fit all, either be textile, will you ask anyone from the from SEZs areas or expertise, they will say livestock, agriculture, manufacturing, and these sort of and even energy sometimes. And I keep hearing that. So what are we? And but what are, there are good models available for us in Asia, because in Asia the development has to be in the way that we work on, because for them to be successful, they must establish strong backward and forward linkages. And not that the narrative that we keep building in our media about so much of negativity around this industrialization. And even sometimes I believe becoming a rich industrialist and a big businessman is a challenge in this country, because everyone thinks that this is corruption money. So this is unfortunate, and this is what you youngsters have to understand. It's not bad to be rich through fair means. It's not bad. Don't even imagine that. These industrialists are giving their blood and soil to this great country to build these industries where we work and employ and get just my last one slide. So our incentive have to be efficient, performance-based, harmonized with national investment policies, regionally competitive, and sectoral approach. These are the SEZs that Chinese have built. Just imagine all these dots. These are the SEZs. So don't imagine they are experimenting in Pakistan. They know their work. We have to learn. And this is their footprint. Just imagine this is their footprint. And last but not the least, I'll skip this slide to recommendations straight away. We need a pro-industrial growth, employment generation, and productivity mindset. Our productivity is 1.8 as compared to 5 of India and over 6 of China. So this is the competition that you youngsters have. This is the competition. And if I am employing someone and I want to employ a cross-cultural team, why would I employ somebody with a 1.8 productivity, except for national interest reasons? I would employ somebody who's more productive, ताकि मेरा काम 3 साल 2 साल में हो, as we build the facilitation in Gwadar in 6 months. And then, of course, the government has to give clear signals in support of SEZ as part of national industrial development agenda. ये नहीं कि तकरीरें हों कि SEZ बहुत जरूरी है, बहुत अच्छे हैं, 9 SEZs हैं. We know 9 SEZs हैं. We know कि 26 लेकर गए थे अब चाइना में. कोई एक हमें बनाना होगा जिस पे काम करना होगा, और उसको the whole of government approach लेके जानी होगी. Then industrial policy need to be announced with set targets and timelines. The roles of all stakeholders should be clearly separated in institutional framework, including the developer, operator, and enterprise. I do not know whether I have to go to a P&D department, whether I have to go to the Board of Investment, whether I have to go to the Economic Zone Developer, or whether I have to go to the Industries Ministry. I do not know right now as we speak. Establish simple and transparent incentive regime, clear national development strategies and plans, and support pillar industries. बहुत simple pillar industries हैं आपकी, कोई intricate business नहीं है. Agriculture, maritime, pharma, based on these have a competitive advantage, including the manufacturing sector. Because, as I said, we are close to $250 million now, so huge consumer market. Establish simple and transparent incentive regime. Last, please strengthen your investment promotion agencies and SEZ development agencies by ensuring focus mandate दें उनको, institutional autonomy and effective coordination across level of government. Please remember, when I say all this, these are all low-hanging things. These are not difficult to do. We can do this. We have learned our lessons in the last 10 years. We are moving in the right direction. We are moving slow, but we are moving in the right direction. And hopefully, we will achieve our target. 2025 was the target given to SEZs. COVID aa gaya, we got late. But I think now the Dhabeji has been announced. We had series of problems. Rashaka is moving in the right direction. I think now our leadership, political and bureaucratic leadership, have to reach out to Chinese political and bureaucratic leadership and encourage them to come and investment in Pakistan despite all the challenges, because when they come, we will learn and we'll get better. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hassan Daud, for pointing out various problems and also suggesting solutions for them. You rightly pointed out that we need to understand from the already successful models in Asia. After highlighting the problems in the current SEZs, as you also suggested that we need to learn from other successful models of SEZs, and China is one of the most successful model for this. Moving to our second speaker, Mr. Shakeel Ahmed Ramay, who is CEO of Asian Institute of Ecocivilization Research and Development. So you will be speaking on the lessons from Chinese model, and you have 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Nabila, and thank you, Ambassador Saif, for inviting us. And it was a pleasure to collaborate with you to organize this session. I was always expecting and believing Hassan Daud is my brother, but he degraded our relationship to the friendship. Thank you, sir. Okay, so last time I spoke about the CPEC. What are the specific problems? Today I will try to talk more about SEZ specific model and the problem. So there are three problems which we are facing right now about the SEZs. Number one, research gap. You cannot find a single study on SEZ comparative analysis with other countries. Despite the fact we have the Planning Commission, despite the fact we have the Pakistan Institute of Development Economics, a number of government institutions which have been funded with the name of the CPEC. There is only one study, and that is a childish study by the one institution. They're saying like that, this is a tax rate, this is their trade, this is their rate, this is a comparison. No, you need a comprehensive comparative analysis of Pakistani SEZs with the world. So what is happening? Why I mention this? Because a few years back, I brought a chairman of all all German Small Enterprises Association to invest in Pakistan. He asked me this question, and I put this question to all the government entities, and no one has this study. And still we don't have after the 10 years. Then we are trying to selling the SEZ to the world. Second, our SEZs are being built on the political preference, not the economic rationale. Reshake, which we are celebrating now, that was a political bribe in the softest word. So what is the justification to build a Reshake? Is there any fruits and agriculture products we are producing there? Is there any minerals or other assets there? If we have to build for the minerals, it should be in the newly merged districts. They have the minerals, they have so many things. We will have the closest connectivity with Afghanistan. We can extend it to Afghanistan within no time. And we can build a trilateral SEZ there. If you have to build here, then Qatar is there and others are here. Just to make happy few politicians or happy few powerful, so their land is there, so they can sell it at expensive rates. So that was our political decision. It was not an economic rational decision. And that is happening all over the Pakistan. We are trying to make happy people, politicians or something like that, but not the economic rational. Third, fantasy, utopia. We can make so much, we can say fast, not fast, everybody's talking about game changer, going to change like this happened, that happened. But nobody is telling it will take time of 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. China did not develop within 1 year or 5 years or 10 years. When I talk about the model, I will talk about how much time they took. Every government in Pakistan, every political party, they are selling CPEC so high, like that it was look like that. China have loaded a truck of money for Pakistan and they are distributing here in Pakistan. They are not talking about the economic rationals. And you can say, हमने ऐसी expectation बना दी, the expectation of people are so high, unimaginable and baseless, that everybody started to talk about what is happening on the CPEC. The real questions lost somewhere. Nobody talked about the reforms and opening up, anything. Specifically talking about the Chinese model. China model does not start from 1978. China model started much earlier. If we have to study the modern China history, we have to divide in 5 periods. It starts from the 1840, century of humiliation. Then second is 1921, where the CPEC has, the Communist Party of China was established. Then 1949 onward, so where the China came into existence. Then 1978 opening up and reforms. Then now from 2012 onward, President Xi Jinping era. If we look at that, the first major, you can say, China model reform was when Chairman Mao said there are 3 evils. And you know what was the biggest evil at that time, which Chairman Mao identified for the China? Anybody have any guess? Bureaucracy. He said we need to fix the bureaucracy first if we want to move. Look, the word evil, not saying a problematic like that, very straight. Evil. What he did? He made the new structure where the party is sitting everywhere now, along the bureaucracy to make it, to bring them online. Then the cultural revolution, which tell the people, look, you have to work. Forget about here, there, like I'm buying shy. So the evil, first you identify evil, what is evil? Then again, after that, he came about the principle of contradiction, which talk about the class differences. But first we identify this is the evil we have to tackle. If there is that evil will exist, we will not be able to move. Second was corruption. Third was the waste. Now look around Pakistan right now. What is happening? When the bureaucrats are in power, they will not listen to you. They will say, all is well, this, that, we're doing this, we're doing this. The day they retired, the post-retirement enlightenment started. They started to give lectures, oh, that should be happened, that should be happened, that was problem, that was problem, that should be fixed. Bring me as a consultant and bring me as a, pay me some money, I will fix the stuff. The simple question is, you are there on the duty for so many years. What you are doing at that time? Just telling us the false stories, lying to the nation, wasting the money of the nation. But unfortunately, it's happening. And we love to invite them. Oh, ex-secretary of that, ex-director for that, ex-journalist that, ex-journalist. We love to invite them. Now just give us the lecture. How you failed the state and how we should contribute to fail the state. Second, that is the first thing we learn from China. Identify where is the evil and fix it. If I talk about this, next time you will not invite me on any lecture. That happened in many universities. I talk straight, you say, oh, don't talk, invite him again, it will create problem for us. We are so hypocrite to the lowest level. Then we say we want to make progress. No, we don't want to make progress. We want to make careers ourselves and earn some consultancy fee. Second, scientific decision making. It is not the whim-based decision making. Oh, my leader said, this is a vision. Oh, my leader said, this is the vision. No, there is no such leadership. They say make a decision making on the scientific basis. Get the data, analyze it, make the options, select the best one, try to apply it, and monitor it. If there is a problem, fix it. Don't say, oh, this is my leader has said we have to implement it. If there's a problem, fix it, because goal is important, not the method. But we will say, in 1970, my leadership gave this, this strategy, this vision. So in 2023, I will follow that. For God's sake, come out of that. Maybe the Bhutto Sahib visionary leader at that time. He has a vision for that era. But he did not know that mobile phone will be there. He did not know that internet will be ruling the world. There were digital economy, digital like that. He did not know that. So come up with the scientific decision making. No, what we will not go for the scientific decision making. No, third, the case study. of the Shenzhen for the Chinese model. We're talking about special economic zones. What they did, from the very beginning, from very start, they selected Shenzhen. This was, I think, a 20,000, 30,000 village, small village. They gave the status of provincial capital. First thing they did. Why? Because when some place is a provincial capital, you build the infrastructure like that. Second, what they did, they make it provincial, the status of the like province. And then they gave him the authority to make decisions and implement them. Then the Shenzhen came up with the model of 24-hour rejection or acceptance of the delivery. Shenzhen started with an economy of $4 million in 1978, and now economy of Shenzhen is $477 billion more than Pakistan. Of one city, one special economic zone. So fundamentally, they did financial autonomy, investment autonomy, and trade decision-making autonomy. If you look at Chinese model, or Chinese governance model, these are the, you can say, earth-shaking changes in their governance system. We say now, it is highly centralized decision-making, but for the implementation, they bring it to the lowest level. Second, that is earth-shaking, you can say the thing which China did. In Shenzhen, China first time introduced contract-based employment. Being a socialist country, a socialist system, you cannot think like that. There can be any type of the contract-based employment. That employment should be permanent and for life, benefit from everything. They did not say, oh, this happened like that, this happened like that, we will not change. That is a beauty of Chinese system. They change with the time. They don't say like that. In Chairman Mao said in 1949, we will not move to that. We can have another lecture on someday, the historical analysis of Chinese leadership and their relevance, and how they are respecting their leader without sticking to the 1940s. Thank you. We can have more questions.
Thank you very much for explaining the Chinese model and also highlighting the shortcomings in our systems. Now we are moving to the discussion with experts, and our first expert is Mr. Zahid Latif Khan. He's a chairman of Islamabad Stock Exchange, RMC, and he's also chairman of the Asian Institute of Ecocivilization Research and Development. Sir, you are a great advocate of like bridging gap between the academia and industrialists and the gaps in our knowledge. So, sir, what kind of reforms we need in this country, like to stimulate and to provoke a kind of synergy between the academia, research, and industrial development? And my second question to you is, what kind of financial and structural reforms we are undertaking for the development of SEZs? So, sir, looking forward to your. So you have 7 minutes. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I'll try to wrap up the things in 7 minutes, which happened for the last 75 years, before we were even born. So once again, thank you very much for giving us the chance and an opportunity to speak on such an important subject. I agree with Mr. Hassan Daud about the business environment in Pakistan. First of all, we need to give, the congratulatory message to on 10 years of CPEC, but we should say thank you, China, that you are still tolerating us, for the last 10 years by introducing, CPEC and Gwadar especially. I don't know how many of the youngsters have visited Gwadar. So it is out of the CPEC, it is the flagship project. And I've been going there. So I went there 4 times actually, back in 2004, first time. And recently, last year, I went. So there are so many challenges still in Gwadar. There is the problem of clean water. There is a problem of electricity. These two problems, and without the resolution of these problems, I don't know how the things will progress. Regarding the population explosion in Pakistan, yes, it is very, very dangerous, but it can be turned into an opportunity that we will have a workforce if we properly utilize that opportunity. And the second thing is that since Pakistan is a consumer country and these millions of new people coming into the market will be the users, and we have been talking about the import substitution and export oriented goods, but these are the things which we have been talking for years and years. But actually, out of the 9 special economic zones, only one is nearly completion, the Rashake, I believe. It is going to be completed. So we are far behind our targets. And I still remember I was, President Rawalpindi Chamber of Commerce some 5 years back. So there were a few Pathans who would import things from China. There is a China market in Rawalpindi. I don't know how many people you know. So he was upset that now, because of the restrictions, our import, there are a lot of problems for the import. So I suggested him to have a the industry for all those products which you are importing from China. So go for 3, 4, make some partners if you are short of the cash. But you know what happens in Pakistan? Unfortunately, for the last 30 years, the environment was such that there was no encouragement for the industrialization in Pakistan. There was only one encouragement, that was real estate. And because of the real estate, we have seen many large factories have converted into housing schemes and shopping malls and things like this. And because of the unrealistic tax treatment to the real estate vis-a-vis the industry. So these were the problems which need to be tackled. Then we spoke about the FDI. So FDI will come only when the local businessmen will be satisfied as far as the ease of doing business is concerned. Taking the opportunity from this think tank, and you can take the recommendations forward. There are 2 departments in Pakistan. One is Privatization Commission and the other one is Board of Investment. I'm sorry to say that there is no such privatization for the last so many years. So I don't know why this department is still there. As far as BOI is concerned, if BOI was working, correctively, then they should not have try to convert it into SIFC, which is the latest idea. And I don't know how far it is going to be effective. Then there is a problem about, the security, not the, physical security, but the security of investment by the foreign investors. So the implementation of local laws are very important. We have seen, the big companies going into international arbitration. Now, if someone tries to do any sort of investment in Pakistan from abroad, they would not rely on the Pakistani judicial system. They would say that there should be a clause of international arbitration or international court of justice. So this is, again, a very, very problematic area. We need to look into this thing very seriously, and we should give the suggestions to the government of Pakistan. And then there is a problem, if my house is not in order, then why should someone else from outside the house come and do some sort of a business or investment? Because our state-owned enterprises are making billions of losses every year. They are bleeding the exchequer, and nothing is done in this regard. So I don't want to create disappointment among the young audience, but I think that we have not been able to convince the government to get rid of the SOEs, but maybe the new generation can do something about it. And we need to, get rid of the loss-making companies. The government is not supposed to do the business, but they are supposed to provide the enabling environment only. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your thought-provoking insights. We have another discussant with us, Professor Dr. Azam Khan. He's a director of CPEC Agriculture Cooperation Sector at Arid University, Rawalpindi. Sir, I would like to ask this, that how these special economic zones are crucial for the development of our agriculture sector. And one of the reasons for the lower productivity of the agriculture in Pakistan is the lack of locally produced advanced seeds, fertilizers, and agricultural technology. And we also need to now be attentive toward the climate resilient crops and how these SEZs offer opportunities for investment in this sector. Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Ambassador and Ms. Nabila Jaffer, for today's platform about special economic zone. And I will discuss about the agriculture contribution and future way forward, what we can do in this SEZs about the agriculture production. Every person can say the agriculture in CPEC, the second phase is the agriculture, first was the energy and something this. But when we're discussing about the special economic zones, we are lucky enough that the CPEC is coming from the northern south and going to the southern side. Our Pakistan climatic zones and our agriculture zones are very good beneficial for this agriculture cooperation on the CPEC SEZs. When we talk about the northern zone has a special climatic zones and climatic conditions. We can work with the SEZs for the high cash value fruit crops, woolen industries, and also some kind of the organic farmers, because the GB side is the organic side. And when we talk about our second zone of the agriculture is the central zone. It is the Indus Basin side. We have mostly this area is the canal system. When we think about the canal system, because we are shortage of the water, and we should work on the precise irrigation systems to improve the productivity. We should implement the agriculture technology according to the need of the area. If we have in the central zone, we have the rice, we have the oranges, we have the mangoes, we should work for this because our major farmer is the small farmers. In SEZs, if we can contribute for the small instruments, agriculture instruments, then we can get more profit, more productivity. It is very interesting and unfortunate that in Pakistan, the major import of the harvesters was in 80s, in 1980s, and now they are 30 to 40 years old, and almost 20% of the wheat we are wasting in the field with these harvesters. If we can help our farmers with some industry in these SEZs, with the new technology, climate resistant technology, precision agriculture technology, in which we have the different post-harvest to minimize the post-harvest losses. You know, in high-value crops, 30 to 40% are going to loss. We don't have the value chains. We don't have the cold storage systems from field to the market, and from field to the market to the economic zones and to the export things. We should work on this, and we should give the special focus on some value chains to minimize the post-harvest losses. And also we should think which economic zone is better for which crop. We should do the clustering. We should not do the experiments to start the rice in the highland areas, to start the peaches and plums in the Indus Basin. We have already very good cropping system. We should do the clustering, and the SEZs should be according to that agriculture clusters. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to manage from one field crop to one area to the other area. And just like in the fruit packaging byproducts, we are producing the mango, but we are not working on the byproducts of the mango. We are not exporting the byproducts. We are exporting the mango, just like oranges, date, and we are producing much date. But we are not working on the date byproducts. In the last few years, many farmers planted the grapes. When we planted the grapes, after 2 years, they started the fruiting. But we don't have any industry to make the byproducts. These SEZs should be part of that system, that we can start some kind of raisins, some kind of byproducts, some drier products that can increase the profitability of our farmers. And the last thing, that the seed. We are very far away from the good seed production system. But I want to just discuss this. We cannot make new seed one night. We should focus 2 parts. One is in the research. We should start some system for the hybrid seed development, new seed gene pools. And the second thing, we should acclimatize the new seeds from the China and other countries that are highly producing seeds of the, we can take the example of the wheat. In Pakistan, we are average about the 40 to 50 man per acre. But in China, even India, they are taking about more than 100 man from the acre. If we increase the productivity of the farmers, that can increase our export, then work on the byproducts. That's SEZs can be helpful for our local farmers and also for the export of our agriculture products, which is the dire need of our neighbors. Even in China, also waiting for us to import many agriculture products. We should provide that standardized agriculture products that can be easy for us, our industry persons, to export from Pakistan to the China. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for educating us about this subject. Now we have Dr. Ikram who couldn't join us. Now I'm moving toward Ms. Sadia Saif Niazi. She's a lecturer at NUML University, Islamabad. I would like to ask you about I know you may have your own thoughts and views on this subject, but I would also like to know from you that what are the gaps in the narrative on CPEC and SEZs, and do you think the existing knowledge and information about CPEC and SEZs is inadequate? Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Very good question indeed. I just want to, I just want to continue with this thing. I just want to ask Dr. Ikram, Dr. Azam Sahab, do you know about NARC, National Agriculture Research Center? So you people are having a collaboration with those in improving the street. So this is the main thing, and this is the main thing we should do, that we should collaborate with each other. The institutes, the ministries, and the other organizations which are working in Pakistan, they are not collaborating with each other. They are having all the time, they are at a distance with each other, like maybe some bureaucratic hurdles or something else. A lot of things have been said by the seniors, and I have more or less, I have the same points. But the thing which I want to start from this, like this dialogue, which we are doing over here, this should be done like 5 to 6 years back. But this is very fortunate that at least we are doing it. At least we are understanding that what is SEZ and where we are standing. A lot of material is available on CPEC. Yes, CPEC is this, CPEC is like game changer. CPEC is like, is going to change the destiny of Pakistan. CPEC is like a very fruitful thing for Pakistan. And maybe this is something that China is utilizing Pakistan. But again, as Daud Saab said, that we should understand that CPEC is more in favor of Pakistan rather than China. You can see the special economic zones all around the world, China has established. But here is the need that we should have these kind of things. We should make the things like made in Pakistan products hone chahiye. Secondly, baat hui FDI ki, foreign direct investment. 12% there is decrease in FDI all around the world. So how we can say that still we are waiting for the FDI? Why don't we are encouraging people to have this public-private partnership? We have the industrialists all around the world. If you have visited Karachi, तो आप लोगों ने खुद देखा होगा, a lot of industrials are there. Why not we used to like give them incentives to start a small industry, not a big industry, smart as at least small industry. And again, in the last, I will ask a question that, is there any alternatives with the SEZs? Because if I do have like, if I want to invest in SEZ, I might be having things in lakhs, not in crore. But a common person, maybe he will not having a lakh rupees even. He might have thousands. So where he would invest? A small industry does not need lakhs and crores. A small industries can be started with 1,000 rupees. So our government should encourage these kind of things. And youngsters are sitting over there. All the time I used to inform and used to tell my students, why don't we start small businesses? Why not? Why not? हमें करने चाहिए ताकि हम इसको आगे देख सकें. तो FDI से बेहतर मेरे ख्याल से हम पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप को देखें, अपनी इंडस्ट्रीज को देखें. सेकेंडली जो एक कॉन्सेप्ट में लेके आना चाह रही थी यहाँ पे अर्बनाइजेशन का. Urbanization, we need not the engineers for the cities and SEZs. We should have some planners. Urbanization is a big process. जहाँ पे हमें लेबर भी चाहिए. We need skilled labor. ऐसा ना हो कि इंडस्ट्री बन जाए. We should not have laborers. आपका जब इंडस्ट्रियल जोन बनता है तो वी नो वहाँ पे देयर शुड बी स्कूल्स, लेबर्स होने चाहिए, आपके वहाँ पे पार्क्स होने चाहिए, हॉस्पिटल्स होने चाहिए, तभी वहाँ पर एक स्किल्ड लेबर कैन इजीली हैविंग एक्सेसिबिलिटी टुवर्ड्स हिज वर्क प्लेस. सेकेंडली आपको ट्रांसपोर्टेशन सिस्टम, क्लाइमेट चेंज, ये सब चीज़ें जो हैं, क्लाइमेट चेंज इन्वायरमेंट पे आपका ये कम असर देता है. तो ये अर्बनाइजेशन का प्रोसेस बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है इन दिस स्पेशल इकोनॉमिक जोन्स. And today I was doing a research, so I came to know that Pakistan के पास export processing zones हैं. India में ये 2000 में they have given this export processing zones को 2000 में they have converted into special economic zones. और आज मुझे पता चला, yes, we do have export processing zones in 1980s. आप सबको पता होगा. So I just want to ask the people, or we can discuss this thing, that why we have not like turned that export processing zones into SEZs, ताकि हमें कुछ boost up तो मिलता, क्योंकि वो already आपके पास हम we do have in Gujranwala, we do have in Sialkot, कराची में भी है, तो हम उसको साथ में लाके बड़े अच्छे तरीके से ये काम कर सकते थे. उसके अलावा जो ये चीज़ है इम्पोर्टेंट के सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ हमारा मीडिया जो है, that is again very much like they are not encouraging our youth towards this, have some business, something that I'm not saying that they should make a drama or something like this, but we must have some kind of documentaries, all the time that should be on the TV, like what we are watching. we should create our minds towards this making right money, making good money and making more money. So real estate के business है वाकई हमारी पिछले 40 सालों से हमारी जो industry है उसको तबाह कर दिया है. We are all the time we used to have, if you have 5 lakh, okay, I will buy a file, okay, fine. 20 साल बाद जो ये 20-50 लाख की हो ही जाएगी. तो इसने हमारी इंडस्ट्री को बहुत ज्यादा इंडस्ट्रियल माइंड जो हमारे स्टूडेंट्स के हैं उनको बहुत ज्यादा माइनस में ले गए हैं. Political will again, political will नहीं है. This has been very much told by Shakeel Ramay साहब कि political will और special economic zones किस बेस पे बने हैं. इसमें मैं ब्यूरोक्रेसी की बात करूंगी, मिलिट्री एंड हमारी सिविल ब्यूरोक्रेसी, ये दोनों को ही ये चीज करनी चाहिए कि वो इसको अपने गेन्स के लिए यूज मत करें. दे शुड बी इजीली एक्सेसिबल टू अ कॉमन मैन एज वेल. स्पेशल इकोनॉमिक जोन का टर्म तो बहुत अच्छी है, फैसिनेटिंग है, यस ये हो जाएगा वो हो जाएगा, लेकिन इट्स अ लॉन्ग टर्म थिंग which we have seen from the last 5 to 7 years. We have not seen any improvement in special economic zone. Abhi bhi if you see the status, तो उसका status incomplete ही आता है. And some special economic zones, they are having status of in pipeline. So what we have achieved so far? So हमें कुछ ऐसे steps लेने पड़ेंगे जिससे हमें थोड़ी सी encouragement मिले कि yes, this has been done. ये हमने कर लिया हुआ है और इसे हम आगे ये चीज लेके चलेंगे. And being a lecturer of fire, definitely सिक्योरिटी के एक्सपेक्ट को मैं नहीं भूल सकती, इंटरनल एक्सटर्नल बोथ. बट अगेन पाकिस्तान हैव टू रियलाइज कि पाकिस्तान को इंटरनल एक्सटर्नल सिक्योरिटी चाहिए या इकोनॉमिक सिक्योरिटी चाहिए. ठीक है, मेरे ख्याल से यहाँ पर हम सबको, एंड वी एटलीस्ट यस वी डू हैव दिस पॉलिसी, इकोनॉमिक सिक्योरिटी हमारे पास होनी चाहिए. तो नाउ वी हैव टू डिसाइड कि हमें इंटरनल एक्सटर्नल यस फैक्टर्स विल रिमेन ओवर देयर, बट अगेन हमारी इंटरनल इकोनॉमिक सिक्योरिटी क्या है. सो वी शुड वर्क ऑन दिस थिंग. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sadia, for your very thought-provoking thoughts. Now I will give the floor to Dr. Tauseef Javed. He is a research associate at Center for Strategic and Contemporary Research. We would like to know your thoughts on SEZs and what are our expectations and what is the reality on ground.
Hello, thank you so much for inviting me and in this discussion. My thoughts are like to all the panelists who are present here and all of you and the youngsters are also here attending this. We are not real or the true to ourselves. It's one of the biggest obstacle in our country, and especially now when we are talking about the economic revival or the industry and everything. Special economic zones, and I think we should thankful to China that we are discussing special economic zones in Pakistan right now because of the CPEC. हमें बहुत पहले ये रियलाइज कर देना चाहिए था और इस पे काम भी करना चाहिए था. चूंकि मैं चाइना से पढ़ा हूँ एंड फूजियन जो प्रोविंस है जिसमें इट वाज लाइक फूजियन एंड गुआंगडोंग जो पहले थे जहाँ पे चाइना हैज स्टार्टेड इन 1980s द स्पेशल इकोनॉमिक जोन्स. सो आई कैन फ्रॉम दैट एक्सपीरियंस एंड after seeing the progress of those two provinces, I can tell that how can this idea, the concept of special economic zone can actually boost Pakistan's economic progress. From 1980s to 1991, the 70% of the total FDI of China was in these special economic zones. 70% of FDI. And right now, what's the condition of our country? That our country is lacking the FDI. We are saying again and again and again, our government is saying that we need FDI. And at the same time, what's the good thing? The demographic profile of our country. The 60% of our population is youth. What we can do, and at the same time, additionally, the diaspora, Pakistani diaspora that is living abroad. Sir has mentioned that we are like facing a problem in FDI that Chinese are maybe ready or not ready, but not the rest of the world is ready to come and invest in the special economic zones. What we can do, I think we can initiate to mobilize our diaspora, the rich diaspora who's living abroad. They can come and they can invest in the special economic zones in future. Definitely the special economic zones are still in the progress stage. So this is how we can make or we can bridge that gap. Apart from that, I think Sir Daud, Dr. Daud has mentioned that we do not have an industrial policy. That's the biggest lacuna that is existing, and we are like still there's no government is working on the special economic zones policy to public it. I think we should need to comply both of them. If you are saying that we want to achieve certain goals from the special economic zones under the special economic zone policy, that should be in compliance with the industrial policy, that we do not have that policy. We should realize the importance of the industrial policy as well. And the one thing that Ma'am Sadia has mentioned that about the existing export processing zones and the industrial states, as of this Special Economic Zone Act of 2012, अब ये हो चुका हुआ है कि वो जो existing हैं वो status attain कर सकते हैं, ये हो चुका हुआ है. But again बात ये आती है कि political and जो will है, एक environment है, as a conducive environment होगा तो शायद वो भी export processing zone भी status of special economic zone को attain करने को चाहेंगे. जो सर ने एक और बात जो इसमें रूल ऑफ द थंब है कि आपके जो जियोग्राफिक कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस होनी चाहिए फॉर द स्पेशल इकोनॉमिक जोन, बट सर हैज मेंशन्ड द के पॉलिटिकल प्रेफरेंस की बेसिस पे जो है रशकई को इन्होंने मेंशन किया. सो आप यहाँ से देख लें कि जो रूल ऑफ द थंब है इसमें स्पेशल इकोनॉमिक, आप उसी को कॉम्प्रोमाइज कर रहे हैं. अगर आप उसको कॉम्प्रोमाइज कर रहे हैं तो फिर जितना भी हो सकेगा आपको आउटपुट जो है वो मैक्सिमम नहीं मिलेगी. जब आपको आउटपुट मैक्सिमम नहीं मिलेगी तो आपका वही हाल होगा जो हमने 60s एंड 80s में इंडस्ट्रियल स्टेट्स एंड एक्सपोर्ट प्रोसेसिंग जोन्स को इनिशिएट किया था और उनसे हम वो नहीं हासिल कर सके जो कि नेबरिंग कंट्रीज कर रहे हैं. बांग्लादेश इज एन एग्जांपल, इंडिया इज एन एग्जांपल, एंड डेफिनेटली चाइना इज बिगेस्ट एग्जांपल. वो सक्सेसफुल है इन टर्म्स ऑफ स्पेशल इकोनॉमिक जोन्स. So political will is the most important, and for the political interest and the preference को मद्देनजर ना रखें बल्कि country के और nation के interest को मद्देनजर रखें. और as जैसे मैंने बोला कि demographic profile हमारा इतना favorable है to this condition, जो कि domestic market को हमारे जो favorable conditions हैं उनको देखते हुए स्पेशल इकोनॉमिक जोन पे काम करना है. इसके साथ साथ आपको स्पेशल इकोनॉमिक जोन में, क्योंकि हम बार सभी लोगों ने, मोस्ट ऑफ द लोगों ने हमारी पॉपुलेशन का तस्करा किया, तो आप उसमें लेबर की अबंडेंस जिस इंडस्ट्री में हो सकती है उनको आप रखें स्पेशल इकोनॉमिक जोन में. फॉर एग्जांपल टेक्सटाइल है, then there's a pharmaceutical, then there's food processing zones, and that is what we can do. Clusters are already available. So किसी ने mention किया था clusters को. The cluster, like from the Gujranwala, there's a Faisalabad, the textile cluster is there, and one of the special economic zone वहाँ पे बनेगा industrial Faisalabad में. So just to integrate them, and there's another thing that जो कि much needed है at this point of time, proactive होते हुए, not to wait. Like definitely we will go that way. We are slow, but we are heading that way to the special economic zones. But that is to connect the university and the industry and the special economic zones as well. Because the people out there, one-stop shop वाला जो concept है वो होगा, the people or the जो commerce के graduate होंगे उनको इतना आप जो है empower करें कि वो जो है वहाँ पे आने वाले जो लोग होंगे जो इंडस्ट्री सेट करेंगे और जो भी पार्टिसिपेट करेंगे उनको जो है वो अच्छे तरीके से वो अकोमोडेट कर सकें. ये कॉमर्स के स्टूडेंट्स कर सकते हैं. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, फॉर द फेयर प्रैक्टिसेस, आई वुड से कि आप जो इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंसी जो पाकिस्तान की, उसको इसी स्टेज पे ही गवर्नमेंट ऑफ पाकिस्तान को एंगेज करना चाहिए, क्योंकि फेयर प्रैक्टिसेस को जब आप जो मॉनिटरिंग एंड एवेल्युएशन होगी आपके स्पेशल इकोनॉमिक जोन्स में, तो वो इस चीज को जो ऑडिटिंग की हो, अगर फाइनेंशियल कंसल्टेंसी भी अगर वो देते हैं, ओबीसी वो देते हैं, और उसके अलावा ऑडिटिंग में जो आपके फेयर प्रैक्टिसेस को इंश्योर करेंगे, दैट वुड एक्चुअली कंपाउंड द क्लाइमेट, इनेबलिंग क्लाइमेट फॉर द बिजनेस in our country through special economic zones. And special economic zones जो है laboratory के तौर पे भी काम करते हैं. अगर हम वहाँ पे अच्छा perform करेंगे, those practices we can definitely practice in the rest of the country. This is how we can connect this concept. So I hope the government, we are heading, but we are very slow. There are definitely obstacles, but I'm hopeful that we would be in a position that we will realize we have conceived this concept. We will realize the practical outputs of these special economic zones. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tauseef, for your very useful recommendations. Sir, I would like to come to you. Yeah, if you want to share your thoughts after this discussion.
Shakeel's permission and Ambassador's permission. My name is Bilal Janjua. I'm sorry I'm not in that list. I'm the CEO of a consulting firm. Have served in China for almost 22 years. And I've lived and worked in APEC, ASEAN region for a very long time. Personally, I've touched all these economic zones and worked inside them for many, many years. So just a few views which I would like to share. You see, if you go the problem route, the problems are too many, and I want all these young people should be motivated, So I don't want to go the problem route. I want to, tell them that at least they are sitting in this hall today and they are interested in this subject. This is something very good. It's very good, very positive. So I really appreciate all these young people who are here. You see, first of all, a few advices for the young, stop wasting time on social media, please, Don't listen to these hopeless messages every day. Abhi ye ho gaya, abhi what has happened. Just completely shut it down. Even in your groups, if you have people who try to, bring your hopes down, shut him out of the group, And, try to talk about 10 things positive about Pakistan every day in your groups. And you will see that in 10 days, the whole social media buzz will completely change, right? So you're sitting in this country, this is a blessed country you work in. I've traveled all over the world. I've seen China since 1980s, and I've seen them change. I've lived with them. I have thousands of friends there. And so this is a blessed country you live in. In China, we don't get to see the blue sky. I've hardly seen any birds over there. They're all gone. There is so much pollution issues. There is a lot of issues in China also. There is social problems. They're chasing the money too much. They've lost their values. There is a lot of issues also. China is not a very nice star which you see on the sky. It's shining. They have their own issues. But you should understand Pakistan is a blessed country. And, I'll just give you a few examples so that you understand how we can turn around the things, So we have $70 billion of imports, okay? So everybody talks about how will we, there is one way is to increase the exports or you decrease your exports. So when you talk of exports, you're competitive with China, with Vietnam, with Bangladesh, with India. They are far ahead, and it's very hard to succeed in the export market. It's not easy. So you look, what are you importing? So I'll just give you a few examples, okay? So out of $70 billion, you're importing almost $12 billion of steel scrap, okay? Which is you're importing from all over the world. The mess of the scrap is coming into Pakistan. You're blocking your ports, and you're taking it through the trucks or the roads. You're spoiling the roads. Then all these steel industries, more than 300, 400 industries in Pakistan, they are burning this ferrous, scrap, polluting the environment. There's a lot of mess, and this just one item can shave off $12 billion from your import bill. I'll tell you how. Okay. So in Mianwali, we have the world-class iron ore deposits. Okay. Under the city of Chiniot, we have a meteor which fell from the sky and it's sitting there. 60 million tons of iron ore sitting underneath the city of Chiniot. Very high quality iron ore, which is the raw material to produce steel. So these two deposits, there is world-class deposits in, in Chitral. There is world-class deposits of iron ore in KPK. So we have, more than 10 billion tons of iron ore sitting inside being wasted. Okay. So you fix one sector, just steel. So you save $12 billion of imports. Okay. Second, we are importing diammonium phosphate. Is the DAP, is urea. I think Dr. Azam should know about that. So this urea is, why are we importing urea into Pakistan? We can produce urea from our Hazara phosphate deposits. We have Hazara in this Haripur region. We have world-class deposits of phosphate. Nobody has looked into it in detail. Nobody has tested it. Nobody has taken the samples to foreign labs. We are just happy importers. So this is another $12 billion. So 12 plus 12 is $24 billion. If you just fix these two clusters, your deficit is all gone. Okay. Then you import mobile phones. You instead of mobile phones, you look at the supply chain. What can you locally produce? How can you do? You tear down the so that's another $5 billion. So $30 billion is saved. Your economy is fixed, and then you focus on economic zones, and so don't be bogged down with what is going on in the environment. Just be positive. Pakistan is 20 years behind in everything. No matter which sector you touch, you're 20 years behind. So it's focus on the idea. You're young, you're connected. When we were at your age, we did not, and there was a small Macintosh which was launched when I was in college, so only a few guys could touch the Macintosh. There was no computer even at that time. There was no, when I went to China, there was no smartphone. We used to send faxes and, pagers, and it was a mess, very hard life. So we started with that. So now you have access to everything. You have fast internet, you have smartphones. Don't waste your time, please, on social medias. Learn things. Study iron ore, study phosphate, study the agriculture potential of Pakistan. And, it starts with the idea. Focus on the idea. Develop and nurture the idea. Investors will jump on you. If you have the right workable idea, people have a lot of money, but they have no brains. So use your brain, cultivate the idea, and bring out that change. I'll tell you example of Elon Musk. Elon Musk when he was very young, he was fighting all over the world looking for investment. He came to China also, and I happened to be one of his hosts actually. At that time, he had just created a small F1 kind of a car, which has nothing, just a frame and a battery, and it was very, very fast. Okay. So I took him to Shanghai Automotive Corporation, which is the partner of General Motors, Volkswagen, the big giant, And I took them to them, and I said, this guy is from America, and he has a revolutionary technology, and he would like to demonstrate. So Chinese said, fine, let's look at it. We went to the F1 track and this small model, it beat the hell out of everyone. All the Volkswagen, General Motors cars, they were even just thinking of putting a gear and this car would disappear. It was so fast, But the Chinese, thought maybe this guy is not very, credible, and so they didn't pay much attention. He went to Middle East, he couldn't find money, And I told Shanghai Autos that you will regret not working with this guy one day. And after 6 months, we found out that he has found some VC capital in US, and he was able to raise $50 million. And that was the start. We missed this opportunity in China. And, and he went and he built his first car, and he built out of the garage. So this one guy, just one motor, and the mechanized system change everything. So now the whole world is talking about electric vehicles. So it starts with the idea. So focus on the idea, and build an idea. There is gaps everywhere. You look at it, Pakistan, we have bauxite deposits. We can produce aluminium. We have antimony. We have cobalt. We have nickel. These are, thousands of tons worth value of minerals.
So mineral sector can change the economy of Pakistan. You have tourism. You know, the northern areas are a blessed place. You know, look at Dubai, just 20-kilometer stretch. There is sea, there is shopping mall, there is nothing else. Yet 50 million tourists are coming there. But in your northern area, nobody even knows where is northern area, what is the route, what is happening. So you have smartphones. Nobody is stopping you to create a tourism company, build packages, take tourists to the northern area. Just this tourism can turn around the economy of Pakistan. There is so much potential. So minerals, tourism, and I'll tell you about economic zone. You know, I'm glad somebody is talking about economic zone. In my opinion, the Pakistan, the whole system is wrong. You know, the point is that you have too many authorities. Whenever the prime minister sits, he makes a new authority. And these guys are useless guys. They have no knowledge. They have nothing. And there's too many authorities. At the end, they cook nothing, right? So all these authorities have done nothing in 75 years. Even the policy of economic zone is completely flawed. It's 2012 policy. There is not much of a detail in that. You know what I told the planning commission minister, that if you can't come up with your own policy, just look at Bangladesh SEZ policy and Vietnam policy and just double it. Whatever incentive they are offering, you just double it. You don't need to use your own mind, you know, just double it and the investors will start to pour into Pakistan. So there is policy has to be completely revamped. And of course, you need thousands of economic zones. Every city should have 50, 60 economic zones. The mayor should be empowered. All these federal, these ministers, they should be completely out of the system. The city should decide what they want to do. They should know. They should be able to have the complete decision power, like what is happening in China. So just a few thoughts which I wanted to. I wish there was more time, but I am thankful that I've been given an opportunity. So you know, don't lose hope, please. Okay, this is your country.
Thank you very much, sir.
You have to fix it yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, nobody from outside will come and fix it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for very insightful and illuminating recommendations. Now the floor is open for question and answer. We can take 3 or 4 questions if they are very stressing questions.
Ma'am, before the questions,
Yeah.
may I add one thing, because they just pointed out, Madam actually pointed out that only the large investments are coming, but what about the people who wants to make the small investments? So I skipped, because I myself is a businessman, and there is a concept of REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust. It's a world over concept, and now in Pakistan it has established. So there is one example of Dolman Mall in Karachi. So everyone has got the units of it. So you cannot buy one shop worth millions of rupees, but you can buy units of maybe 5,000 rupees or 1 lakh rupees and become part and parcel of that ownership. So we have also given the concept of REIT for the SEZs. So SEZs, if someone wants to establish an industry, so they can take the route of real estate investment trust, then they can raise the money even from the capital market, the public participation. Everyone, for example, if I am the shareholder of Pakistan State Oil, it's a very, very large company, but I bought 1,000 shares, and whenever the PSO company, you know, makes profit, I will also get the benefit through the dividends. So this is one concept. I just wanted to reply to that question.
The floor is open for question and answer. If anyone has question, please raise your hand. Jay, Arish.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so there's a short answer. You see, the Pakistani industrialists in the steel sector, they went for induction furnaces. Induction furnace is a very simple kind, the most stupid kind of a furnace actually. So you put scrap, it will melt it at 2000 degree, and you get steel rebar out of it. So there's no technology. So they just went for the simplest route, the easiest route. You see, Pakistani nation, what I feel is, they've become too lazy. They don't want to go in the mountains, dig the mountain out. Thousands of Chinese are working in the KP in hydropower projects. I'm a consultant to many of those projects. I'll tell you an example. We are turning the river Indus at Dasu's site. 6,000 Chinese are fighting with the river every day, fighting with the mountains. Where is the Pakistani nation?
We are fighting with them.
We are giving them tough time and bureaucracy and all the nonsense. So as a nation, how hard it is to dig the ground. How hard. You need explosive, you need belcha, you need a shovel, you need excavator. You have everything. So who is stopping you to dig? There is no technology in digging. Just start. At least start. So we have not even started. Forget about the policy. As a nation, we have become too lazy, and especially the young generation, they're wasting time in non-issues. They should focus their energies on the gaps, focus on the idea, bring people, work out an idea, work out a financial model, look for investors, be in the right group, sit with the right people. Don't waste your time. You understand? So if you're serious, then God will find a way to connect you with somebody who will take your idea forward. You understand?
So projected by politicians, by bureaucrats, even by businessmen as the game changer. But people, and especially the young people, fail to realize that it is only one of the 6 corridors of the BRI project. So one has to be realistic when talks about a particular issue. And there is no doubt that in the last few years, CPEC has also been plagued with issues of security. I won't go into the details of what has been said and discussed, because I don't think that requires any further elaboration. But I can actually chart out about 10 or 12 points which can take the SEZs forward. One, to attract foreign investment, you require internal stability, and you definitely require improved security. Because minus these two, no person, whether in Pakistan, whether in China, or whether anywhere else in the world, would want to make their investments, because businessmen always make investments, government always invest where there is a profit motive. We need to definitely create the enabling environment, and we have to provide clear incentives. There cannot be a shift in those incentives. That one government comes, the tax rate is 15%, the other government comes, the tax rate will be 20%. Now, if there is no security of investments which are coming in, and no possibility of repatriation of profits, I'm sorry, people will be reluctant to invest in any SEZ. We have to improve the governance. Obviously, the bureaucratic setup has to be simplified. I have worked with the BOI for the last 30 years, but it's not a one-window operation. It is a one-window operation only to the extent of Islamabad. But where the actual project is, you have to deal with the DC, you have to deal with the local feudal lord, you have to deal with the local politicians. So, unless and until it is a one-window operation, it will never, the SEZs are never going to be successful. Uh, I disagree with Daud Saab. In all European countries, there is always an arbitration mechanism. Fine, you have to go by the law of the land. I do agree with that. But the basic thing is, if you have issues, there has to be an overarching body of arbitration which actually even tries to settle the case even before it goes to a court of law. I worked with a particular organization of this nature when I was serving as ambassador to Rome. And we sent that model to Pakistan, but well, that model never really got off the ground because, you know, it probably would have created a lot of ripples. So that's something which is essential. A thing which when we were planning, I'm talking about 2013, when I was DG China. In these SEZs, there was to be vocational training and skill development. I think that is something which definitely needs to be done in future in the SEZs, because it's all very well to say that in Pakistan, the biggest asset is your youth. But youth without education, youth without skills is not an asset, it's actually a liability. So I think this is something which is essential, which should be factored into the SEZs which are nearing completion, which are in the pipeline, or which are like, you know, operational at some level. And like, you know, if you are basically aiming to enhance your trade only with China, then you need to bring in the Chinese language. Because how many of us speak Chinese language? It's very easy to communicate with an American or with a European because, you know, you speak English. But like, you know, now the world is moving towards a stage where an economy like China, it's going to be significant. So I think Chinese language is absolutely essential. And people like Daud Saab and people like you who have lived in China, when you who speak the language, because it's a completely different ballgame when you know the language. You don't require interpreters. You are not really dependent on people. So that's something which we should look at. I couldn't agree with you more that, you know, we should use the social media. Public-private partnership is absolutely essential. And the last thing where I would like to end what I'm saying is that as a country, we lack research. Because unless and until you don't do research, you cannot progress, because the research tells you the pitfalls, it tells you what you have done wrong. And from that experience, what you can do to improve things further. And I think the message to the youth is absolutely essential. And the message which you gave, sir, it is your country. It is an independent country. You don't know the price of independence because you never gave that price. Your forefathers gave that price. But to keep that independence, you will have to work yourself. Nobody is going to come from overseas and put things in order. You can only put your own house in order. And for that, I think you need to know your history. You need to research, and based on that research, you need to calibrate, recalibrate, and basically improve upon the policies. I couldn't agree more with a lot of people who said this thing. We need to get rid of the white elephants and the dead ducks. There is no need to keep them because those organizations basically are ones in which you are sinking money, and that's it. But let's be very hopeful. I am sure that the coming decade, if we are able to make these changes which I have proposed or suggested based on the knowledge which you have provided me, I think we will be far better placed off. And let me thank all of you on behalf of the IRS Let me thank you, Nabila, for organizing this excellent roundtable. And I think we should continue with these because the message which should go out should be a message of positivity. It should not be a message where we are groaning and moaning. It should be a message of positivity. Long live Pakistan, long live Pakistan-China friendship. Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone for patiently listening, and thank you all the honorable panelists. Thank you so much for coming to IRS.